Welcome back, everybody. This is video number 3 in my tutorial on the setup and configuration of AtomicFE. In this video I want to take care of setting up video snaps, go over some of the ROM name versus video snap or artwork file name. We'll look at the screen configuration, the game list configuration, the game list files, and the game description file. So those are the things I want to cover in this video as I count down here the release to PlanetSide 2. If you're not familiar with this game, you need to be. So go check it out on Steam and get in the fight. So anyway, let's get going here. The first thing I want to review is the actual video snaps, and we'll get into an actual screen here. I'll go to the MAME window here and right click on it and go to properties, and as I mentioned in my earlier videos, you'll notice that there is not a video snap option here, and that can be done in a couple different places, but I'm going to show you where to do it actually on the config file. So we're actually going to get out of the Atomic Studios here, open up our Windows Explorer, navigate to your AtomicFE folder, and you're going to see a folder in here called Projects, and from within Projects you'll see all the projects that you've created. The one for this example is in this Atomic project, and here are all the config files and pretty much everything that's related to what you see here on this Atomic front end here. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to click on this. You'll notice how the file structures are pretty much all the same, regardless of your names. The name of the screen appears here, and then followed by a couple different extensions. And the one we're going to focus on first here is this CFG file. It's just a list.cfg, and here's one for the adult game screen, and there it is for the Atari 2600. For the shooters, and so on. So anyway, we're going to we'll start with this one here. Just double click on it, and I already have my Windows configured so that it opens up this this extension, the CFG, in Notepad. Otherwise you might get a screen that asks what program you wish to use, so you can simply just select Notepad. So from here you'll see this is where all of the config files are located. This is where it tells you, your ROM directories. Pretty much everything you would see on this screen here is translated into this text document, or vice versa. This translates into the Atomic GUI screen. So you can see here's where the snap directories are, the ROM directories, where your executable files are located, the name of any of the game lists that you have created. Let me see if I can expand that. There we go. We're going to get into this in a minute because this is going to be important. And here's your executables right here. But what you won't find here is this snap video dir, or snap video directory equals. So this you're going to want to type out. Okay, and then obviously you're going to want to put in your the path to your video snaps. And AtomicFE, I found, only works with AVI files. So first thing I'm going to do is navigate to my my drive and to my EMU movies and MAME. And here I have where all my snaps are located, and I have AVI versions of all of the snaps. I'll launch one here real quick. Let's do 1943. So that's what a video snap is if you weren't familiar. It's just basically a video preview which will be displayed as you're selecting your game. So what I'll do here is, since I'm in this directory, I'll come up to my navigation bar here, click in it, and just do a copy, and then I'll open up back to the CFG file here and just do a paste, and there you go. And we'll save this, and now this is set up. So now we have our file location for our video snaps. in the config file. And I typically I use this for one other purpose, and that's the description file. And I'll get into that a little later in this video. But pretty much those two things are the only thing I deal with. If you did have to come in here and let's say you move some folders around, say I included a new folder structure, you can actually do it from within here. You can make those changes. So let's say if I change this to front end and I created a new folder, you can come in here and do these modifications manually, and it might be a little quicker if you do some form of cut and paste or search or find without having to go back into the AtomicFE front end and doing it that way. So anyway, I will take that out, and don't forget to file, save, and let's actually go in and check that out. So again, here we are. We won't see it listed here, but let me look at my game list again, because it's been a while since I've created the first video. Okay, so I remember now. Now we should actually see, instead of those snaps for these games, we'll actually have the video preview. So let's go ahead and launch this, test it, and see if it works. Waiting. There we go. So see, now we have video now instead of a still picture. Alright, I'm going to back out of here. And let's go into the shooters and test that. And you see, since we haven't gone into this screen and done that modification, we are simply being left with only the snap images. So let's do that for the shooters screen. We'll exit out of here, open up our Explorer again. I'm actually going to get back into that AtomicFE projects. And as you see here, I've also, when I'm working on a project, I like to, right click, copy, and make backups of it in case something happens and I need to revert back to an earlier version. It's always good to make copies of this project. And you can even actually make copies from within here. But basically any projects in here, you'll actually see it on the select screen. So I like to just make a complete copy of all the projects here. So we'll go back in here, and I'm going to reopen up again the one we modified. You can see snap directories here, and I'm just going to copy it. No sense in typing the whole thing out again. And we'll go into our shooters. Actually, let's do the adult games while we're here. So adult games list.config. You can come down to the bottom here. Doesn't really matter where you place it. Just paste it in there. Save. Come down to shooters. This config. And do the same thing here. Paste. So now we'll test the Atomic again. I'm going to do it actually at this arcade level. And all three of these now should have video snaps. Let's give it a test. Alrighty, adult games. Let's do the adult games. And there they are. Remember, hit player or the 2 button to escape up a level. We'll go to shooters. And there you go. Now the next thing I want to discuss is the relationship between the ROM name and the file names, because a lot of the times if your ROMs are named one thing but your snap files are named something different, they won't show. So I'm going to go into again my EMU movies, and I'll go to MAME and AVI snaps, and I'm going to go into detail mode here. We'll look for that alien. Actually, I'll do it on 1942. Or the one on OneGov. That one I know I did. So let's say I'm going to just rename this as an example. So right now I've renamed it to something different than what the actual ROM name is, because these need to match exactly. If your ROMs are named one thing and your snap files or your video snaps are named something else, when you actually go into the front end, there's no sort of intelligent comparison or linking or anything. They have to match one to one, or they just flat out won't show. So we're gonna test this again, and because I've renamed this, we're gonna see that the one-on-one gov will no longer play the video, and it'll revert back automatically to just the snap image. So let's test. Go to all games. So see how we got the videos here, and unfortunately all we have is the snap, the regular snap image. So it does, if it doesn't find the video snapped, or the name is different or something like that, it will try to load the snap image, just a plain still picture. And if it doesn't have the snap, then you'll probably just get an image here that says no image or something like that. Just something to let you know that there's a problem. And typically 9 times out of 10 it has to do with the fact that your ROMs are named differently than the image files. So if you are playing and you happen to notice that, know that you've got to go in and start doing some modifications. The biggest example of issues with this is going to be within the other console systems, such as Nintendo, Sega. You might find ROMs that are different, or somebody goes and makes a movie for a specific game, and they don't name it exactly the way that your ROMs show it, and you might have to do a lot of manual adjusting and repairing of your names here. So that's it for that. I wanted to at least let you guys know that, in case you guys saw that they weren't displaying. That is probably why. All right, the next thing I want to go into is back to the Atomic front end here, and I want to start talking a little bit about the game files and the sorting and the categorizing of your games. You remember, again, go into the view attach game lists. It's going to bring up your list of games. As I said, you do want to at least build one of these files so that it builds it on. It actually creates the text document on the back end. So that's why I only have a couple here. And we'll go back to the projects folder. And this file is called the game list file. And we'll open up this one, and we'll see there is the list. Now the games have to include .zip, and there's many different ways to go about doing this. So I'll briefly talk about how I did it. In my setup here, I always have a sort of workspace where I create a lot of files and everything that when I'm doing my configuration and setup and everything. And unfortunately, I don't have Excel installed on this computer here. But basically, I exported out and downloaded a list of all the ROMs and everything. And I did a lot of manipulation. I looked at what type of game it was, what the genre of the game is. Let me see if this is a text document of it. Okay, so here's a text version of what that Excel looked like. It basically has the ROM name here, what the genre was, and to me, I also have cocktail tables, so it mattered to me knowing whether or not the game was horizontally or vertically played. So I can sort out everything that's vertically played, and then choose it for my cocktail table. But as you can see here, I've gone through, and I believe you can find somebody else's interpretation, just like this is my interpretation of what Batman is, and whether or not you call it an action game or a fighter game or whatever. How you get this file created is strictly up to you, But as I said in my earlier videos, you do want to go ahead and take some time and go through all your ROMs and everything that you have and determine whether or not it's a sports game or something like that, so that you could limit your game lists to only games that you play. Again, I think it's very cumbersome to just have all your ROMs and 52 different versions of 1942 whenever you're only playing one. So actually, if we go down to shooters, I think it's in alphabetical order. So you should see here. So for shooters, I have 1942, 1943, 1944, 45, and so on. So you can just simply take these this information and copy and paste it out into new text documents, which you can use to help you build your game list. So we're going to go back to shooters. I've already got it separated out here. So here's basically all those ROMs that I deem to be a shooter. What I can do here is I can then copy it, go back into my projects, and find my shooters game list here. And there were those shooter games that we selected. I'm going to highlight them all and just paste in what I called shooters. And then you save it. And that's it. And that's why I said you want to at least create a game list when you're in the studio, so that it makes this file for you and you don't have to worry about going and naming it properly. Because if it's not named properly, or there's any misinformation between the actual game config and the location of this, they won't work. And I believe AtomicFE will bomb out. So that's why I like to, as much as I can, have the system create its own files first, and then I go in and manipulate them. So we'll go into AtomicFE, and I'm going to talk about a very important thing from here. We've made changes now. So the game list file, and in fact, I'll actually bring it back up here, and you're going to see it's going to reflect it. See, so this game list editor now reflects the copy and paste of the files I did. But here's one important thing that you need to know how to do. You need to know that you need to click this purge. Anytime you make a modifications to the config files, as far as adding or removing games, adding or changing the description files, which changes the names on the ROMs and on the screen, which will be the next thing I go into. Anytime you make these modifications, you have to come here and purge. And when you purge this, it says this auto generating game list has been purged. So now we will test this, and you will see it will rebuild your game lists now based on the new games you've added, or the changes that you've made. So let's test it, and you're going to see that screen, as I talked about in other videos, come up and start counting down all the ROMs. Oh, did it quick enough. So there we have it. Alright, the next thing I want to go into is the naming of it. So see how this says 1942 set 2, or this says 1941 dash Counter-Strike. Let me actually back out so you guys can hear me. Those names that appeared on those screens are controlled by a description file, or what I like to call the DICO file. And I'm going to show you how you can manipulate that as well. You right click on here, and then you take option change display name. And basically this is going to come up with a list of all the games and everything that all the ROMs that you have. And this information comes in from whatever the settings were on the screen. And you can click this find matching names. So we're going to go ahead and click that. This might take a couple seconds for it. And then you're going to see that the display name is going to populate. Just wait here for this, even though it does say not responding, it is doing something in the background. Okay, it finally finished. Again, if you do see it saying not responding, don't flip out. Probably give it about 5 minutes, because especially when you're dealing with MAME and so many thousands of ROMs and everything, it does take a little bit of time. But you'll see here that things now on here's your ROM file, and here's the display name, start to show the actual names, and it actually builds this file, this text document, which we're going to get into in a minute. But I did want to show here, just like in the game list editor, this display editor allows you to come in and do little modifications here. So I think we were looking at 1942 and 1941, and you're actually able to just come in here and make your modifications. Click save, and this is now how it'll appear. Oh, yeah, I forgot when you save it, it does close it out. So we'll open this back up again. So say that you didn't like this, the dash in between the 1941, and also that might throw off your alphabetical order. You know, and you might see games that are numbered weird or just not placing right. You can come into this file or this editor here and make your little modifications. But I also wanted to show you this this nice little feature here. This allows you to, as you can say, you can put, as you can see here, you can remove all characters from the bracket to the right. So that would take care of things like this world, or let me see if I can see any, or this US set, US. See if there's anything else. Take out all of this. So let's test it here. I will do it on. You can do it on anything you want as many times as you want. So I think the bracket's a good one, but I also like doing it on the parentheses, the open parentheses here. So let's go ahead and perform it. Hopefully it won't bomb out. It does take a minute, but if it stays here, you should see that the file will eliminate all of this. It's not responding, might take a couple seconds, so I can edit the video and come back when it's done. Okay, we're back. Alrighty, so there you go. It's removed pretty much any parentheses to the right. So it's a quick way to do a little bit of first initial description name editing. And then again, you could, like I said, you could change this to whatever you want if you did want to do colon. But I mean, obviously, if you did some characters, you might end up shooting yourself in the foot and messing up more ROMs than you fix. So just be careful with that. Okay, we're going to get back into the project file here and come down to this description file, as I like to call the DICO file, and we're going to open this up. And again, it's going to be in a notepad, and this is going to be exactly what you saw within the actual AtomicFE description editor screen. And again, you can put this into Excel and sort some things and do some manipulating within there if you want. But you know, or you can manually do it from within this file here. But one thing I did want to show you guys, a technique that I started doing, especially whenever you were dealing with multiple games of the same. You know, if you've done this one time, you know, if you do it for the all games directory, which should technically contain all of the other screens that you have, all the ROMs, there's no reason to go back in and redo it a 1,000 different times. So I want to show you how I do it all in one file. So we were doing in the earlier within the shooting screen. So let's go to the all game screen now, and again click on this change display names. And I'm not actually going to do anything. I just want to save it. So this is just going to create the file. And again, as I said, I do this because it's better to let the system just create it first. And now we'll get back up into the all games, and now you'll see I have a description file here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, since the shooters was the one that I did first, and we made the little modifications to the 1942. And let's do another little modification here. So let's take this loop master, and you know, for whatever reason, we'll call it the poop master. So we'll save that here, and I'm going to highlight all of this. Actually, I don't need to. I'll just take this actual file here. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. So we'll have a copy of it now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this something else. Let's call this, you know, like master MAME description file. Okay, so we'll call it this. And what we can do now is get this file name and everything and actually put it into the config file. So what will that get you? What it'll do is if you ever make any modifications, to shooter games or anything like that, you don't have to continually go back into every game. Like if a new game came into play, or you wanted to rename something because you found out it wasn't done properly, by having this master file, it'll change it for all your screens. So we'll go here and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to do a Control-C to copy. So I'm just copying the text of the name of this file. Actually, I'll need the whole thing, like that. And we're going to go into the shooter's config and come to right here, this dictionary. This is telling the screen where to go to, what file to use for the names. And you can see here, when we initially created it, it made this entry into this config file and called it shooters list. But we're going to go ahead and replace that with this master name file. So when you do this, and you do it for all your screens, so we'll go up to the adult. Actually, I can't do it to the adult because we never created it. So let's do that real quick. Come to the adult games, right click, say change display name. Just going to go ahead and save it. Not going to even bother making any changes because I'm going to replace it. Okay, so there's the file. Don't need to even mess with that. You're going to come up to the config. We should see the dictionary. There's the dictionary. Come to the end of it and just replace it with our master. Save. And then again, we'll go up to the all games. There's that file, but we don't need to mess with it. And we'll replace it. So let's go ahead and launch, test these out. And there it is. There's your 1944 Poop Master. And as you can see, we took out the 1942 parentheses set to. And there you have it. Let's back out of here. And let's go into shooters. And there's your Poop Master there. And your modified 1942. And I don't think the adult games had. Yep, nope, they did. Okay, so we can see here that the one-on-one gov is not has not been modified. So again, I'll just demonstrate this because I don't want to be shown wrong here. But I'm actually going to do it from within, rather than messing with the config file. I'll do it from, since it's one title, it's easy to do these one-off little modifications just from within the utility here versus manipulating the file. But we'll come here and we'll find that one-on-one gov. There it is right here. And we'll make that change. So let's say we want to call it, ONE on ONE gov as just an example. We'll save it. And now let's test it. Okay, yes, we know. And there are the modifications. Exit out of that. So that is basically it. That's it for this video. I'm going to think of a couple other little tips and tricks that I want to demonstrate for you guys, and I'll get it into the next video. So again, thanks for watching, and check out my other videos.